Hello, welcome to Bloom Art by SW, and just wanted to ask you, are you a beginner artist who's been looking into watercolours and you're not sure about what paper or what sketchbook to get? It's a minefield. So I'm going to help you with some art supplies, some sketchbooks, some brushes and some paints. So stick around, let me explain what you need and what you don't need. Okay, so first of all, I need to explain something to you before I go through it all. This paper is printer copier paper. This is recycled paper. This is 80 GSM. Now you might be thinking, why is this important to me and what does GSM mean? So GSM means grams per square metre. This is 80 grams per square metre. Why is that important to you as a watercolour artist? Because, my friend, if you've chosen watercolours, there's a 100% chance you are definitely going to be using water, hence the name watercolours. So this is 80 GSM, 80 grams per square metre. This is not good paper for watercolours because it is too thin. In fact, it is so thin you can see that I've printed on the other side. It's actually showing through the paper because it is so thin. Do not buy this paper for watercolour paints. Buy this printer copier paper for your printer. Your printer will love you for it. Your watercolours won't. Okay, this is a sketchbook. Just because it says artist sketchbook does not mean that this paper is for watercolour paper. This is 89 GSM. So it's not that far off from watercolour paper. Okay, let's not show you these bad drawings. Let's show you these good drawings. This is okay for drawing on and getting your sketches down and then transferring onto watercolour paper. This is not good for painting watercolours on. Again, you've got the same problem. The paper is too thin. So when you paint on it, I'm not going to paint today, but when you paint on thin paper, it will just soak through the paper and your paper will just become soggy. It won't work. So if you're looking for a sketchbook for drawing in pen or pencil crayons, this is fine. Do not buy this for watercolour paper. Okay, got it? Okay, so this next paper, it's the same brand, and I should tell you I got these from The Works. So I'm in the UK, we've got a major store called The Works. I don't have any affiliates with them, just to get that out there. This is me just telling you my experience with paper. So I bought this when I didn't have a clue what I was doing with watercolours. And because it says Watercolour Pad, I thought, yeah, perfect, absolutely perfect. This is 230 GSM, 230 grams per square metre. This is still good-ish paper, and art professionals will probably say not to buy this because it is cheap paper. However, if you are an absolute beginner and you've not even touched watercolours yet, or you're just about to buy all of this, and as I say this, it's just a few days before Christmas, so you're probably too late for Christmas presents, but January is just around the corner. And what does January mean? Christmas sales. So things hopefully will be slashed to half price or some sort of a discount. So I'm hoping if you are looking at getting paper, then you might be able to find this in the stores. Or if you want to spend a bit more money with the sales, you might be able to get a slightly more expensive bit of paper, which I'll tell you in a moment. So this one I bought a little while back. Okay, there's some paintings on there. This is one of my earlier paintings in here in a sketchbook. I don't know if I should show you, but there you go. I use the back as well. I don't think they're great looking back on them, but it's helped me get a feel of watercolour, find out if I like it or not, and I decided to carry on with it. If you've not touched paint before and you want to get a feel for it, I'm going to say it is okay to get this sort of paper, to get 230 GSM. So you could get this sort of paper and practice in there. I've still got loads of pages free in there, so I'm sure I will use it eventually. So yes, I think if you're an absolute beginner, this paper is okay to use. If you want the exact watercolour paper, you need to look for 300 GSM. This is too small to say it on there, so I'm just gonna get another one. 300 GSM. That's the best paper for watercolour paper. You can get higher GSM paper, but I just feel like there's no point, and I think a lot of professionals use 300 GSM as well. So don't waste your money at this early stage buying ridiculously expensive paper. Look for 300 GSM. We've got another store in the UK called Flying Tiger, and I bought a load of these from there when they were in there, and I think it was about a £5 back then. I don't know if they've still got them, but this is a watercolour block of paper. So what you do is you do your paints and then you take it out. I've got a rip there, and then you sort of remove the paper. This paper is good for beginners as well. It's inexpensive. If you can find something like this in a similar kind of store, watercolour paper, 300 GSM, then that is the ideal paper for you. The best paper that I use, which you might have heard of, is Baohong Academy Watercolour paper. It is a bit more pricey, but it's really good quality paper. The other thing I'm just going to touch on is there's 3 textures of papers that you can buy that's well known in the watercolour world, and that is mid grain, fine grain and rough grain. If you're a beginner, that's probably not going to mean a lot to you, but it's just the texture of the paper. Can you see the little sort of grooves in the paper? With the rough texture, there's a lot more grooves. With the fine texture, it's much finer. I would recommend you just stick with the mid grain to start off with, and then venture out and buy different papers if that's what you'd like to do. But I would recommend this type of paper. Again, 300 GSM or GM, and if you are an absolute beginner, then go for 230 GSM. I hope that's helped. Hope that's given you an idea of what paper to buy. And then we will move on to brushes. So how many brushes do you think you need as a beginner artist? This many? Okay, I've got pens in there as well, but just ignore the pens. This many. This many. Well, this is what I have anyway. And how many brushes do you think I actually use? I use this, this, and this. And maybe this. I may use these as well. Let me explain. When you see all these artists painting and showing you what they've got, it might give an impression that you need all these paint brushes. and they're great to use. Honestly, these are new for me, so I haven't actually used all of these yet. They're Chinese Chinese brushes, so that'll be interesting for me to give them a go. So we'll put them to one side for now. You've also got these filbert brushes, again really nice, really popular. Absolutely love all the brushes. These are some old brushes that I recently found that I've got and had when I was little, or when my kids were little rather. So I've just got a whole load of brushes, cheap brushes and expensive brushes. Here's what I would recommend if you are an absolute beginner and you've never touched watercolours before and you're interested in getting started. So we've got these, let me pick these out, and this one. So these actually came in, let me put that to one side. So these came in a set. These are Princeton watercolour brushes. I don't have affiliates with anyone either, so just letting you know that. The paintbrush I use the most is this one. It's the Princeton Neptune round watercolour brush, size 8. The bristles are soft. They will hold a lot of water in there, and that's why they're really good, because when the bristles hold loads of water, you don't have to keep getting water and just keep painting with them. You can just do that once, get your paint brush loaded and just paint. That's all it is. Sounds simple, but I would recommend, if you don't want the whole set, I would recommend this type of brush. These are the brushes. Yes, they are nice. You're going to use these more for a background wash if you do landscapes, and for background washes. That's what they are used for as well. The other brushes that I mainly use are these. So this brand is called Silver Black Velvet. This is a size 12. This is a 4. And this is a size 8. So this Princeton brush is also a size 8, but they are ever so slightly different. The brushes are a slightly different shape, but they are the same size, and I'd probably say I use these two the most, the absolute most. Again, I use these for some bigger paintings and the background as well, but sometimes it's handy for just covering slightly larger areas, and that's got the point as well, which is quite handy. So I don't want to go into it too much, because if you are an absolute beginner, I don't want to confuse you. You don't need all of these brushes to start off with. Start off with just some basic brushes. These are not too expensive. I bought these as a set of 3. If you were to buy them individually, they're not too bad in price. But if you are looking more on a budget range, I would get your Princeton Neptune. There is another brand that they do, or another name that they do, but if you make sure you look for the Neptune, I think that will probably be a good beginner brush. If you don't want to spend too much on a brush, you can just get, so these are your absolute basic of basics. I think these I had when the kids were little, and I happened to find them and I just use them. Again, if you just want to get a feel of them, yeah, fair enough, just get whatever brush you want, just to see if you like it. There's no harm in doing that. I know professionals will say, again, get your expensive brushes, because that's the best way to learn. But if you haven't painted before and you've never done it, you're not going to know if you like it or not. So if you spent all this money on all this art supplies and then you don't carry on with it, you will have wasted your money. So I don't think there's any point in spending loads of money and getting loads of art supplies to start off with. But yeah, if you've got no budget and you've got loads of money, then knock yourself out. Let's move on to watercolour paints. Okay, so these are from the same place I bought the sketchbook from. These are from the company called The Works. These are absolute basic of basic paints of watercolour. I got these as a present years and years ago, and I didn't use the black. I did use them quite a lot. I think I've used the green quite a lot, just to get a feel for the paints. They're not the greatest of paints, but I stand by it. If you've never painted before and you want to have a go at painting, I would recommend just get the basics. They're not a lot of money, a few quid. They're in the shop called The Works. I don't know if you're watching from another place. You'll just have to see what there is that's similar. You could get those if you're an absolute beginner and you've never touched paints before and you want to get a feel of it. Then you could get those. I sort of do recommend it and I sort of don't. It just depends how you feel and how much you want to spend on it. But if you can afford a bit more money, then I recommend this brand. Again, no affiliates with anyone. Winsor&Newton or Winsor&Newton Common Watercolours. It's just got a few colours, but enough colours. Oh, I didn't realise it was upside down. Okay, so you get a set of a few colours. You get a little tiny brush. Can't really do much with the brush because it is just tiny. So it's not really, I don't use the brush to be completely honest. You get enough colours. Oh, this is going to take me ages to put back in. You get enough colours to practice with. You get a sheet showing you the colours as well. The only thing with these is you might just have to spend a bit of time activating the colours. Because it's not the professional range, it's the basic range. It's like the Academy range of watercolours. There is another watercolour step up that they do from the Winsor&Newton collection called the professional range, and the colours are slightly different and the quality of the pigment is better as well. I haven't used them, so I can't recommend them. I don't know on those. But as a beginner, I should have bought these to start off with and not watched someone else on YouTube promoting a completely different brand and then I went out and got them. But we'll talk about them another day. As a beginner, I would recommend the Winsor&Newton paints. They're in a small little container. You've got your palette as well. It's handy. It doesn't take up too much space, and I think that's going to be the best for you. Again, there's loads of paints, there's loads of options, and it can be an absolute minefield for someone who is a beginner. I just think just take your time with finding stuff out, look into everything. Don't feel like you have to buy all this stuff to start off with. There's loads of different options out there. I hope this has given you a bit of an idea of what to buy and what not to buy. But if you get stuck with anything, you can send me a message on comments, use the comment box, or you can tag me on Instagram at BloomArtBySw. I'll leave all the details in the description box, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for sticking around. Take care. Bye.